Screw it. Because all right. Brothers, let's begin. Hope you guys are doing great. Happy Saturday. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. Hope you've had a good week. I've had a pretty good week at the gym for the most part, except for I got sick a little bit. It was like a, 48-hour thing. I do not feel it right now. And kind of just felt like a low-grade fever and low-grade fatigue. Thankfully, I fucking take 6,000 IU of vitamin D every day and sleep well most of the time. Get at least 6.5, and it's pretty sound sleep. Drink a lot of caffeine and, throw in some salads every now and then. So 2 days, one day light at the gym, the other day couldn't really go to the gym. Just didn't want to fuck with anything. Turns out a light workout is good to stimulate some, immunogenic positive response if you have some sort of virus. But a heavy workout might, via cortisol and some suppression of some immune function, make things a little worse. All right. Let's talk about a couple things. Number one, HCG, either WRECKS or helps you. Yes, and that depends on the dose. You could be at a place where, you're at 250 IU a day. Just call it. And you inject that every day. And that's perfect for sexual function based on your test dose. Usually you have a lower test dose in order to make that work, or estrogen goes too high. Then, though, you go to like 300 IU of HCG per day. Like, maybe let me bump this up, see if it helps testicular function a little more. Maybe there's a little more sensation. Maybe there's something better here. And what happens there is you go over your range in estrogen and everything falls apart. It could easily happen. Things will still be pretty good because you're not going to go over that much, but then it's just going to be slightly worse. I really think people need to focus on getting the HCG dose perfect, right? Because too much and it's estrogenic, too little and you don't have enough of that kind of testicular signaling for erections and for intratesticular DHT, which really does matter and comes from HCG. So you got to get that down. You've got to get that down. You really do. And people have to understand that, if you're on 150 of cypionate a week, injected however you inject it, you can't just bring in a bunch of HCG usually, I'm just looking at the whole data set here of clients. And it's like, you just maybe a little bit, but is that enough HCG for you? Usually means you got to lower your dose, right? So when you bring in HCG, you got to adjust your test dose accordingly most times. Just something for people to think about. Mastering Testosterone Cypionate is going to be a video course that's going to be launching sometime in the next couple of weeks. That's the first one of 5 that I'm going to be running. Going to be launching Mastering Testosterone Cypionate for like crazy libido and steel rod erections. I'm going to be doing Mastering Testosterone Cream. And these are video courses that are up and coming that I'm working on. There's going to be one related to mastering test prop, all dial-in protocols, like, getting those protocols straight for you. And so look forward to those products. They'll be launching at least the first one in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be sick. At this point, I'm going to launch like 5 video courses that are targeted toward, very specific things related to TRT, different esters, how to dial them in and what to do in what situations and all that kind of stuff. So hope you guys are prepared for that. Last thing, I would say the best cream dose, this is a question I got via email today, would be 3 pumps of transcrotal cream, 200 milligrams per milliliter on the scrotum in the morning. Yeah, you'll have to dial in HCG from there. It doesn't require a lot, 150 IU a day, something like that. But 3 pumps just seems to be the best. You're very unlikely to take estrogen too high on 3 pumps of transcrotal cream a day, and you're going to get a lot of DHT, which is going to offset some of that estradiol. So just something for folks to think about. We would love the anabolism and the extra energy and that fucking dopamine hit that happens from 4 pumps of cream, or 4 pumps of cream in the morning all at once, or like 3 and 3, because that really does feel good, but it tends to introduce problems. Just like, if you can't tolerate an AI, high doses of any long ester would. So that said, let's go, brethren. Make sure I'm not on fucking reverb anymore. That would suck. Do the whole stream on reverb. You guys would lose your minds. Be like, dude, pay attention to your shit. Hey, Ryan, I watched your video yesterday with Test Prop and Test C. Do you think Test E falls in the same category as Test C? And would Test Prop still maybe work better than Test E? Yes, 100%. Well, I mean, if you just think about, like, do I think Test E falls in the same category as Test E? No, I do not. Yeah, there's been some deep dives on this with Vigorous Steve and his boys, that basically testosterone enanthate peaks faster. It'll leave the body a little quicker. You end up getting a higher peak from test enanthate versus testosterone cypionate. Now, that could mean a higher peak in estradiol initially, but it's going to be then a cleaner trough kind of thing. It's not going to stay peaked forever. I like testosterone enanthate a lot. I just think it's pretty fucking awesome. It is not the same thing as testosterone cypionate, although it is pretty close, right? If you were to take all the esters, I mean, the most similar would be obviously Test C and Test E, and then Test Prop's in its own world over here with a 48-hour half-life and a super fast peak and a dopamine hit right away. You know, and DHT, intrapenile and central nervous system DHT, which kind of hits you really quickly and feels really fucking good. So yes, absolutely. Testosterone propionate, the propionate ester will work. Not necessarily better, but just in terms of absorption and the central nervous system and penile androgen load, it's going to be higher, as you know, as well as general DHT conversion is going to be higher. It's going to be a bolus all at once, and that feels much different, much different. If you go too high on prop, you're going to see it in your hair. You're going to see it in your hair as proof that the DHT really, really does go up pretty high with prop. It's pretty crazy. Now, that's one of the benefits of using Test Prop, but it could also be one of the drawbacks if you're really worried about your hair. Camille, why do I feel depressed after taking Proviron tablet? I feel even a few hours after taking and a couple of days on Proviron, I feel joint pain. I'm on test enanthate. E2 level is 40. I think for you, it's probably just suppressing estrogen a little more than it might the average person. That's the answer. I mean, you answered it yourself by saying you've got some arthralgia. That's joint pain, transient from inhibition of aromatase. So, you know, I mean, that's why it does not do that for me. It's never done that for me. You know, Proviron doesn't tend to lower the estrogen, you know, much. It might maybe 5 to 7 points, which is usually negligible depending on how it is. And depending on your body and whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you got some real powerful Proviron. I mean, I've mostly dosed pharmaceutical Testosterone. Yeah, mostly, you know, I've gotten some UGL Proviron like in capsules, and yeah, probably wasn't as strong. But most of the Proviron that I've dosed was pharmaceutical Bayer Testosterone. So, you know, it never really did this to me. I think it's going to be different for different people, right? Just based on how your body deals with things that inhibit aromatase. Might be the case that if I took 50 to 75 milligrams of Proviron a day, that I would start getting some sore joints or some aromatase inhibition stuff. It might fuck with my libido kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, if your E2 level's at 40 on 100 milligrams of test enanthate, I mean, and sexual function's fine, just leave the Proviron out of it. Leave the Proviron out of it. But if sexual function's not fine, just take that dose down to like 140, and things will probably even out a lot better regarding estradiol. With the Hodge twins, yeah, that's where that's inspired, dude. I love that. I love that you know that. I love that you know that's exactly where that's inspired from, bro. Fucking Hodge twins, man. Love those guys. James Evans, hi, mate. Hello, mate. Do you have any advice on how to handle having to get up 2 or more times a night to urinate? It's killing my sleep. I mean, the first question obviously is how much liquid are you having in the ensuing hours, like the hours before bed. That would be the first question. Secondarily, I don't know, why is antidiuretic hormone dropping at night? Because that's probably what's happening here. Thirdly, is your bladder via low estrogen unable to, you know, filter liquid back into your body, and is it irritable and makes liquid that's in there make you have to pee it out quickly? Fourthly, where is estrogen? You know, where's estrogen? The lower that is, especially if you're taking an AI, or if your test dose is uber fucking low, like 70 milligrams a week, then you're going to be urinating out all your water, dude. And it's going to be really hard to get it back in, because you're going to get it back in. Your body's going to go, oh, my water salt balance is still fucked up. I'm going to urinate more water out. You have less antidiuretic hormone because you have less estrogen. You know, if it's like crashed or very low, and that tends to cause this problem as well. I think fifthly, just throwing stuff out here, the higher your blood sugar is, the more your body's going to want to urinate to lower your blood sugar. to pee sugar out, basically. So I think you got to maybe get a glucometer and see if that's the case, rule all these things out and go from there. Hello, Donald Pump. Masteron don't work as well as Proviron for mental boost. Yeah, I can say the same thing. Yeah, I mean, Masteron felt pretty good. It was mostly like physique modifying for me, and it blocked aromatase. I felt that very strongly. It didn't work out for me even at low doses. I'd have to be doing a cycle of tests, and I'm sensitive to aromatase inhibitors at this point, more sensitive than I used to be for some fucking reason. So I'd have to be dosing like 700 milligrams a test to take Masteron, and even then, so it'd still be like not a lot. Proviron, though, it's just the closest of the DHT derivatives to actual DHT. That's why this happens. Because, and what I think is it's just mediating neurological mechanisms for, the mental boost. Yeah, probably via dopamine. Proviron is so cool. I wish, because it starts to mess with my hair after a while. Doesn't really lower estrogen for me. That's the only thing it does. It helps my sexual function, helps everything else. I wish I could just indefinitely take Proviron. And I could if I wasn't worried about my hair. But, it does start to fuck with me, after about a week. And then it continues. Now, would that bottom out? Probably. Would it stop, fucking with my hair? Maybe. I'm just not willing to risk that. My hair will always grow back. Maybe I could do an experiment one day and just go on Proviron, 25 milligrams a day, and just stay there for 2 months, 3 months, and then analyze my hair. But... I've ran it for some time, and it tends to fuck with my hair. But I would take it every day if it didn't do that. I would take Proviron. I would eat that shit, dude. I'd fucking eat it like candy. I love Proviron. Will I ever launch a DHT cream? No, that is illegal. That would be illegal for me to do in the United States, and it's not a prescription in the States. I will never launch a DHT cream. Think about what you're asking. Ryan, I'm probably one of the few who actually feels better on Cypionate than Enanthate. Fewer doses per week is a big plus for me too. Usually 6 to 2 shots per week regardless. Thanks. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, again, people, whatever we see the pharmacokinetics are, don't always apply to people. You know what I mean? You might be... The slower release of tests might just be better for you via a little less of a peak of estrogen. You know what I mean? There is going to be that. With Enanthate and Prop, the fast-acting stuff, it does peak everything quicker. And so your body just probably likes more of a slow release of stuff. I can do both, but, these days I'm really tired of having to either take... Primobolan is probably the best DHT derivative to act as an AI, and that does work for me, but it's real low doses. Or Aromacin, I'm just tired of taking them. I'm tired of having to take them and having to dial them in, because even if you dial them in, sometimes that changes and it might just knock estrogen too low, even though you think you're on the dose that's consistently good. So I got tired of that and wanted to test kind of low dose tests with Anavar, and I haven't needed to take an AI or anything for a while, and it's been great. But I can do that on both Cypionate and Enanthate. But that's kind of where I'm at. Ryan's asking Camille what his weekly dose is. Atheist Nihilist says, on a bulk calorie surplus for 20 weeks? Whoa, bro. 250 milligrams a week testy. Okay. I would call that sports TRT, not a cycle. Want to add an oral for 6 weeks. What do you recommend? VAR, Winstrol, something else? Anavar, for sure. Goal over 20 weeks is packing on muscle tissue. If you want to pack on muscle tissue, Anavar would be your answer. Yep, that stuff is that's another drug that I wish I did not have side effects from. Even at lower doses, in the first 3 to 5 days, I get some tachycardia, which I don't like. That's just not something I want to fuck with. It wouldn't kill me, obviously. It's fucking Anavar, right? It's a pretty safe drug, but I don't like how it inhibits cholesterol metabolism and some other things. So, if it didn't do that to me, I'd take Anavar at 25 milligrams pharmaceutical grade every day, and I'd be a fucking beast. I'd be an absolute beast. But for you, who knows what kind of response you're going to have to it? Anavar would be it. Anavar would be it. It's by far my favorite anabolic. It's by far my favorite. Far better than Test because it doesn't aromatize. I'd love to take Anavar all the time. And, I've got to figure out exactly, if I go back and try to run some higher doses, figure out how to get in between the tachycardia, exactly what's happening there so that I can resolve that and just run I'd love to run 8 weeks of 25 a day of Anavar. I'd love that. I'd put on some real serious fucking size, man. I'm really unable to do that at lower microdoses of Anavar, and then obviously just 100 milligrams of Test at the moment. Thank you, brother. Thanks for being here. Would you have any concern above hematocrit above 52 when I'm well hydrated on 250 a sip? I would say that this is variable, and it really depends on how you feel. If the moment you start getting shortness of breath, which is indicative that the H&H is a little high, then that's a problem. That's a problem. If you're at 52 and you don't have that, then I really wouldn't call it a problem. Would I say that it's a good idea to let that continue to climb? No. I do not. Regardless whether people in Colorado have 57 hematocrit, I think the conditions are different that are causing it. And I don't think it's a good idea to be above 52. I don't really think it's a good idea to sit above 50. But if you're at 52 and don't have symptoms and it's not going above that and you're well hydrated, I think you'd be fine leaving it alone. Yeah. Steve, wonderful. 3 pumps a day all at once. Seems like a lot of cream in one dose. Now, that is a perfect dose. I mean, it's not that you're getting that much test at once. If you did 4, you'd be pushing that, 4 at once or 5 at once, you'd be pushing that and you'd fucking feel it, man. You'd feel a little overstimmed, and at least for the first couple days, and then your body would kind of leverage its mechanisms to get back to homeostasis and you'd feel fine. But 3 pumps is, this is what I mean about it being the perfect dose. 3 pumps is right on that threshold where it's just good. It's just good. It's not too much. It's not too little. Plenty of people are going to complain of just 2 pumps of cream being too little. And that's the case for me. I start feeling fucking tired and just not good on just 2 pumps of cream in the morning. Even if it's 2 in the morning and then 2 in the evening, I start feeling tired. Tired. And generally bad. And I don't like it. I don't like it, man. Don't like it one bit. Dylan, moving from 200 milligrams of Tess cream to Cypionate and HCG, what's a good starting point? Always focused on 120 split, like probably twice a week. Never ran HCG before. If I were you, I'd start at 100 milligrams of testosterone Cypionate. I would inject that, I would do every other day or every day injections, because you're going to add HCG and that's going to equal more estrogen, and you just don't want to peak that estrogen too much if you're sensitive to it fucking with your dick, which it usually does for people. But I would get that into the muscle. Over the last few months, I've settled on the one of there's 2 different ways to use Cypionate. Well, there's 3. One is high dose, no AI. Some people can tolerate that. The other is high dose with an AI. Some people can tolerate that. Some people can't. And then the other is about 100 milligrams a week with 250 of HCG every day. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So that's what I do. I would do 98 milligrams a week. That's 7 units on an insulin syringe. I'd get a 5/8 inch needle so that you can actually get it into the glutes or the delts without, having half sub-Q and half fucking intramuscular, which is what happens when you get those half-inch needles, in my opinion and experience. And I dose between 150 to 250 IU HCG every day. Thank you, mate. Appreciate you being here and saying that, brother. Thanks. MJ, follow lots of your advice. 250 milligrams Test C a week every 5 days. Yeah, so you're doing whatever that ends up being every 160 every 5 days. I don't know what that is. Libido and EQ off the scales. 250 IU 3 times a week. Adding some master on 100 milligrams a week. Carnivore 4 years and feeling look better than ever. Wonderful. Just make sure you get some carbs every now and then. Do carb refeeds, or your body's going to start falling apart. Hector, I wasn't able to dial in on prop. High dose, low dose, gave it enough time. I tried 120 milligrams test anything and 500 IU HCG every 5 days. Okay, so you're feeling better on the new protocol. Okay, wonderful. But yeah, prop, anybody should be able to dial in on prop. You have to, at the very lowest, start at 12 milligrams a day and just inject it into the muscle with a 5/8 inch needle, get it into the glute or the delt, and then work your way up, 15, 17, 20, 25, 30, 35, go up in 5 milligram increments, and give that about 4 or 5 days each time. At the same time, prop is going to boost estrogen. It's going to do it quickly too. So, it's going to get a high peak in estrogen, and then that's going to trough back down. So, it's almost definitely the case that you just couldn't get estrogen straight. That's doable, but it can be a pain in the ass. Christopher, when you did the hybrid protocol of prop and cream every other day, did you alternate cream one day and prop the next? I did like a bunch of different variations. The most successful of them, with a little bit of estrogen management using Aromacin, was 70 milligrams of prop every day. and 3 pumps of cream every day. Yeah, it's like fucking 600, 700 milligrams a week of total androgens. I felt like an animal. I slept great. I had some acne. And that sucked. I don't want acne. But my erections were off the charts so long as that aromasin dose was right. I mean, there was just so much DHT that the rigidity of my fucking erections was out of this world. Out of this world, dude. I've tried other protocols, 70 milligrams of prop one day and then 3 pumps of cream the next day, and that wasn't as good. 70 milligrams prop one day, cream every day, 3 pumps, and then 40 milligrams prop the next day. That wasn't as good. So it was really 70 prop every day and 3 pumps of cream every day with some estrogen control, and that was like a Greek god level. It was crazy. John, Provider definitely messes with your hair and body hair. Can confirm. Body hair to a lesser extent usually, but hair for sure. Yeah, it just is one of those things. Really, really powerfully drying. The reason this happens is this is a drying compound, which means and drying means it reduces sub-Q tissue. So if you're reducing your subcutaneous tissue on your scalp, then you have less protective buffer of hair follicles. So the health of your hair follicles degrades pretty quickly when there's less subcutaneous tissue to maintenance, hydration of the hair follicles, probably among other things, nutrient uptake. So that's the reason that happens. Viternal, what's the protocol while taking DHT gel? I'm on 140 milligrams of test SIP prop blend, 240 milligrams of Masteron. Is that okay? I don't know. What are your bloods? How do you feel? You're asking a bunch of questions here for me to analyze your protocol. I think you need a little more information and more specific questions. Camille, so what should I do in my case to up E2 to 50 to 70? I was on Masteron, but didn't really work for mental. I feel TRT work for me in sexual areas and libido. Oh, doesn't work. Lacked body hair. I need DH derivatives, but have side. Okay, sorry, brother. I can't really understand what you're saying here. Put that in a more intelligible way, if you would. Zachary, kind of weird, but I drank a full 6-pack of beer last night for the first time in years. My libido is noticeably better. I think I might need higher E2 levels to sustain this feeling. No, that's not the answer. The answer is almost definitely pulsatile growth hormone secretion and hypothalamic dopamine rebound. Yeah, I looked into the mechanism of this years ago, and that's what it is. It's not higher estrogen. Nope. Viternal, thank you for the super chat, brother. Really appreciate that. So back to your question, I guess. The protocol of DHT gel would be 0.25 milliliters every other day on the shaft. That would be the good place to start. Yeah, I mean, that's going to start, probably giving you some hair loss, but also it's going to start blocking estrogen at the gene expression level too. So you just have to kind of be careful not to have that go out of your bounds kind of thing. MJ, thanks for the super chat. And thanks for the Red Bull. Really appreciate that. Dar Fitness, hey, bro. Hope you're great, man. Hope you're great, brother. I think you and I are connected on Facebook, and I think I'm seeing pictures of your family, and I really love seeing those pictures, dude. Hello, brother. Recently increased zinc from 25 to 50 milligrams a day. Have felt a big difference in energy and libido. I've taken 25 for years. Felt okay, but it's almost night and day. Thoughts? Yeah. I mean, I think there's also some intra sex organ optimization that zinc tends to kind of execute, which is good and useful for us men that are shutting down our testicles with TRT, regardless of HCG in the picture. So I think that's one thing. I think at the same time, guys are gonna notice, like, when they get their estrogen in their range, which probably this is just better doing for you. You just feel fucking phenomenally better. Yeah, you feel phenomenally better. Now, like, interestingly, like I had ran sports TRT and I was taking AIs on and off, but sometimes I was kind of letting it go, and erections were okay, and libido was like doable. It's all doable, not like super prime and optimal, but for sure now being with estrogen around 27 to 30 last check, just without touching estrogen with an AI or anything, I actually fucking feel, in terms of mental well-being, a lot better than I was feeling with estrogen even at 55. And I just feel more like myself. I feel less emotional, more masculine, more assertive, and all that stuff feels really good. I mean, I'm just one of those guys that estrogen is not my friend. And I think there's neurological mechanisms for that, among others. Fraternal went off HCG and lost morning wood. This can be normal. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that, listen, like I said, the people that say don't take HCG, I don't know the subset of individuals or the data set they're really looking at. because my data set tells me that most people need it, you know? So I think if people are saying, it depends on the person, right? I think if people are saying, you know, don't take HCG, and they're saying that they see that in client work or something, it's hard for me to grasp that, because I just don't see that. I see this happening. I see, if, you know, you kill the HCG, the testicles die, you get fucking intratesticular atrophy that happens, just a degradation of the tissues and the Leydig cell function, the Sertoli cell function. Then, you know, you get less intrasex organ DHT, and you need that. You know, you need that. You really do need that. G. Hopkins, even low-dose Anavar for me, 10 milligrams seems to cause a little extra aromatization from lower SHBG. You got to measure that, because whatever you're experiencing needs to be proved as estradiol being higher. This is just a theory, you know? I don't think that this really happens to some consequential extent. Measure it. If you want to achieve that saucy steroid look, is it necessary to take Tren or harsher compounds? Can you achieve that with safer compounds like Test and Anavar? 100% you can achieve it with Test and Proviron. Yeah, you can achieve it with Test and Proviron, man. Here's a saucy look for you. That's Test and Proviron, dude. That's purely Test and purely Proviron. That is me just overlooking Point State Park in Pittsburgh, or facing it backwards. That's purely Test and Proviron, and this was last summer. You know, if you look close to the vascularity of my fucking shoulders, look at that shit. Look at that shit. Yeah, I think that's pretty saucy, boys. That's just Test and Proviron. Now, that was Test Prop at 280 a week, doing daily injections, and that was 25 milligrams Proviron a day. So you and a good degree of working out and cardio every other day. And that's where I was able to achieve that. Anavar would be would be even better. You'd be bigger and still vascular and shit. So, yep, it's possible. I mean, I think it's pretty possible. It's possible just on Test. If you're lean, if you're just, if you just like run 350 to 500 milligrams of Test and you're lean, you're going to look fucking insane. You're going to look insane. You know, if my dick didn't work so well on 100 milligrams of Test right now, and like baby Anavar doses when needed or when wanted, really, with a little bit of HCG, and I didn't want to lose that, I'd go on a cycle right now. I'd be on fucking 700, 500. I'd love that, and just be lean. I'd look like an animal. I really am trying to figure that out, you know, because I would love a little more animalism at this point, and I'm just running into a little bit of a dead end kind of there. The Visualizer, brother, I found the compounding pharmacy with Test Prop. Yeah, I've heard of this, or maybe it was you or someone else that said that. HCG sub-Q or IM is best. That's going to be dependent on the person. Generally sub-Q. Yeah, generally sub-Q. Pregnal was designed for intramuscular. Is it? I don't remember that being the case, but maybe it is. Maybe it is. So is Test Cypionate. So is Test Inethate. You know, so is Test Prop. All Test is designed for intramuscular injections, boys. That's just the bottom line, motherfucker. I've tried carby feeds and carbs around training. Much better last 12 months. No carbs at all. More muscles, six-pack, etc. Yeah, probably because you just end up with less calories and your body's in a state of burning fat so that you do not starve to death, so that your cells don't starve to death. Fat adaptation is a little bit of a misnomer, or at least the consensus that it's a good thing is scientifically inaccurate. Yeah, you know, if you starve, like if you just like you end up on one of those Survivor shows, or just just take it upon yourself to go become Survivor Man, you know, and you're like filming it, and you can't get food, you start starving, and then you go into ketosis. Ketosis is cellular starvation. That's just it. Yeah, like there's no like I don't know, internet carnivore guy based, like, you know, cherry picking papers that don't really reflect what they're saying that's going to change that. I've already been down this rabbit hole way before you were, judging by your experience here. I'm talking about 2015, 2016. Studied all the people, Rob Wolf, Mark's Daily Apple, so Mark Sisson, Dave Asprey, before some of these newer carnivore guys came out, read all the science, read the book by those two guys. I forget what their names are, but they wrote like one of the actual books on ketosis. Ran it myself, got to measure all manner of blood markers and gut bacteria. It fucking thrashed my gut bacteria. Started fucking with hormones eventually. It was easy to stay lean, sure, but you could stay lean by just not eating, and that's not healthy. Yeah. Listen, the human body is equipped to run on glucose. There's no debating that. That's just the bottom line. You're more optimal on glucose. Once you technically fat adapt, your body is using via gluconeogenesis fatty acids and amino acids to convert to, guess what? Glucose, right? If fat adaptation was the answer and what your body needs, like the optimal state as some of these carnivore people are contending, then you would use fatty acids and amino acids just purely as energy, but you don't. They convert to glucose. Yeah. You might be tolerating this. I think that you're probably getting some degree of carbs somehow, do it long enough with zero carbs, you're going to be up shit's creek. Yeah, your insulin sensitivity is going to get all fucked up, and that's just nothing good about that. So you can get away with it. Just do carb refeeds, man. But the science is settled on keto and just straight carnivore with no carbs, as determined by cellular biology. For the last 100 years, we already know that. So that's just it. Hector, what's up with Quest taking over a week to post estrogen results? Yeah, they're assholes. That's the answer. Assholes, bro. Yeah, it's that they have to send it to California to get estradiol sensitive, and then so it's like that's dependent on the schedules of the the lame phlebotomists and the workers there that are just like, like none of them are in great shape. I mean, frankly, I'm going to sound like a dick. I go to Quest, and it's like some of them are like overweight, and it's like, how are you in healthcare when you look like that? And whatever. Like the processes by which they get the shit shipped to the labs that would run estradiol sensitive. Pain in the ass, bro. That's why sometimes I'm just like, let me just go on how I feel, because I can't even dial in a protocol waiting in some cases 11 days to get estradiol sensitive. It's preposterous. It's preposterous, man. They need to get that shit straight. I'm not taking any growth hormone peptides, but oddly, my girlfriend is. Not oddly, I got her hooked up with Defy, and she's taking Sermorelin. And what I've noticed, what she seems to notice, possibly, is a little more energy from taking Sermorelin. I sense that she's a tad leaner. She's losing body fat and eating more in some cases, which would happen on growth hormone, mimickers or growth hormone peptides. So I think there's good stuff happening with her regarding it. And is there anything else that's happening? I don't know. I guess in time we'll ultimately see. I'm trying to get her on estradiol and a little bit of progesterone, but there's some barriers in between which we got to kind of work through. But I'm not taking growth hormone peptides. I have some ipamorelin in my fridge that I just haven't touched. I don't really need to do it, want to do it. Like I think if I were to try to fuck with growth hormone, it would be actual growth hormone. A Red Bull on me. Hey, brother, you're getting me 3. You're getting me 3 of the 16 ounces. These are the big boys. Thank you, brother. Legendary doesn't take HCG. Don't even know if I need to. Libido is damn good. Say you're one of those anomalies that can not take it and be fine, and that's cool. That's cool. I wish I was like you, and many other guys wish they were like you, like just to be able to not take HCG. All it does is, all it can do is add an extra burden to your fucking protocol, and that sucks. That sucks. Red Bull time. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thanks, dude. Honestly, you didn't have to give me $20, man. If you have a question, please ask it. George, 10 milligrams test prop a day, too low. Well, I've seen guys on 15 go to above 1,500, so not necessarily. You're just going to have to see what works for you. The sport, HCG wouldn't be for libido. It's either to maintain or improve fertility while on TRT or maintain testicular size. This is not true. Why would you say that? Why would you definitively say you know definitively that HCG isn't for or wouldn't be for libido? Do you know that the stimulation of the conversion of test to DHT in the epididymis only happens via functional testicles, and that facilitates nitric oxide and endothelial health in the vasculature of the penis? You can't do that with test alone, brother. You can't do that with test alone. HCG also will stimulate some testicular neurosteroid production, which modifies neurotransmitters in a way which optimizes libido. HCG absolutely positively is not exclusively for fertility. Nope. Yeah, and that's a case closed, brother. Hector, in a recent video, you said microdose cypionate to control estrogen. Didn't you say microdosing low estrus kills your libido and erections? No, this is all dependent on the dose and a few other things. I think what I have said is microdosing sub-Q cypionate, some people can get away with it, is not a great idea, right? Because now you're just bordering on not getting enough androgen saturation, right? Which is like, the estrogen is going to be low, but are you getting enough DHT? Probably not. So you're not going to be like waking up with fucking throbbing morning wood and shit like that usually on low dose cypionate doing sub-Q. Now, daily injections with cypionate do work if you're dosing between 100 and 120 milligrams and a little bit of HCG, but you got to get it into the muscle. You have to use it as intended. There, it can work. Again, as I said, there's 3 ways to dial in cypionate. 1, 200 milligrams plus no AI. That's you're an anomaly if you can tolerate that. A little bit of HCG. 2, 200 milligrams plus AI, a little bit of HCG. And 300 milligrams with a little bit of HCG, no AI. Those are the ways you tolerate test cyp. Otherwise, it causes all kinds of fucking problems for people. Yeah. No, not even sure what this is. MJ, I eat beef, 3.5 pounds of beef every day, a few eggs, probably around 4,500 calories a day. It really works. 4 years carnivore now. Yeah, I mean, you just might also be an anomaly there. Yeah, but the problem with this is people will do that, and like somehow their body is probably because of how many fucking calories you have. You're converting enough to glucose. You're running on glucose, my friend. That's what you're running on. That's what you're doing here. But if that tends to work for you based on your calorie load, the problem carnivore people have is they then say everyone should do it, and it's just a shallow perspective. And generally speaking, I mean, I've done consulting on like sort of health matters for about 15 years. I've never in 15 years. So like you're saying you're able to do, carnivore with 0 carbs over the years, which I find very, very hard to believe. But I've never, ever, ever found someone in a good state of health this way. Yeah, never. I'd be interested to see your blood work, man. Jay Gosh, can you take Masteron and Proviron at the same time? Yeah, sure. I mean, the Masteron will be more lowering of estrogen than Proviron. Proviron just kind of add that extra DHT-like effect, more of a drying effect, and that mental boost that Proviron gives. Again, if it didn't fuck with my hair, I would eat Proviron like candy, man. I'd eat it every day. Can I take HCG and Proviron and improve erections if not on TRT? You could do an HCG monotherapy with a low-dose Proviron, and you'll have to dial that in, but I think that would be, that would be okay. Sorry, Rye, your body is designed to run on ketones. Okay, so here's where I just have to be very clear in saying if you're going to make that statement and you're the one that's doing this, you're saying, sorry, Rye, your body is designed to run on. I've done all of the fucking scientific reading. I've picked apart all the cherry-picked literature that all the pro-keto guys do. I've run it myself and then run all panel of blood work. I've had clients over the years, I'm talking about 100, 120 or so, destroy their health from doing that over time. I understand cellular biology, thermodynamics, the usage of fuel substrates at a very granular level. Unless your work, your profession is in the scientific field, you do not. I can guarantee you're reading from bloggers and YouTubers and doing a little bit of cherry picking in science. If from that position, meaning a highly uneducated position, but obviously dogmatic, and you want it to be the case because it's working for you. So this is what happens. So it works for me. I'm going to latch on to this new internet ideology thing. If from that uneducated perspective, you're willing to say, sorry, Rye, your body is designed to run on ketones, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot, dude. Okay? You're an idiot. Take it from me. Your body's not designed to run on ketones. Ketosis is cellular starvation. That's it. Go Google that. Go read the literature on that. That's what ketosis is. And you're not running on ketones. You're optimizing a degree of the mitochondria via fatty acids and amino acids, but through gluconeogenesis, you're converting those to fucking glucose. You're not running on ketones. Oh, God. You can't tell somebody with, like just a dogmatic ideology one way or the other. Same thing with people that think high estrogen is like okay and that everybody should be. You just stop making fucking blanket statements, man. God damn. Rod Farva, so I need to be concerned about total estrogen if sensitive estrogen is managed by DHT derivative? Not really. Yeah, if you feel fine, then yeah, your estradiol sensitive is primarily what you need to be looking at. Nothing else really, Getting into free estrogen and total estrogen and estriol and estrone and shit, usually not necessary. Thank you, brother. Thanks for the super chat. Brother. Dylan, can cream shut down the testes more due to super high DHT? Yes. And even with a low at 60 cause low E issues, yeah. Yep, it will. The mechanism for this is gene expression for estrogen being blocked by excessive DHT. And it's also shutting down, it's just causing internal testicular atrophy further via lots of DHT. DHT can do that. If it's just like excessive DHT, it's going to cause more of a shutdown. Yeah, I went on 6 pumps of cream at one point. And after about 2 weeks, like my testicles were like hard as rocks and super small, and they hurt a little bit. It was not fun. Not fun. Not fun at all. Tried what? Cream multiple times. Libido tanks and I get crazy emotional. Just rheumatizing. I don't know. You have to look at your bloods, man. And the dose, and the concentration and how you're doing it. That's the bottom line, though, brother. 25 milligrams prop daily, 250 IU HCG every other day. Just started 25 milligrams P5P. All right. Yeah. Prolactin's a little high there, brother. Thinking about 12.5 for Proviron SHB 14. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about that. Last check, my SHBG was 12. No difference. Felt phenomenal. It's probably still sitting around there. It probably went up because I'm on lower doses of TAS, but intermittently using Anavar, so who knows? But no, I've not seen it to be. I think SHBG might be a problem if it's at like 5 or below. It'd probably be a problem. But 14, I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that at all. I just wouldn't worry about it, man. Yeah, it works for you and you're the minority. Again, you're trying to make this point. I've seen people like you before. I saw them before you even knew the word keto, before you even went and learned all these buzzwords like fat adaptation. I'm telling you, I'm your grandfather in this area, brother. Good luck with you, but this is not the case for people. I have enough data to support that. And again, the science does not agree with you at all. You can try to skew the science in a way which appears as if it agrees with you, but that's all sort of pseudoscience-y kind of non-logic. Acetyl-CoA, acetyl coenzyme A, all day, every day. Brother. That's all I've got to say is brother. Brother. Boys, I got five video courses launching. One of them is on mastering testosterone cypionate for teenage libido and steel rod erections. It's going to be one of the best video courses we've ever launched. It's going to break down everything. Whether you're the higher dose no AI person, you're the higher dose AI person, or you're the lower dose hyper masculine brain, which means you need lower estrogen regardless, and you can't take AI's person. It's going to be riddled with protocols. If you're on test SIP and you can't dial in, and especially if you need libido and erections to be really, really, really good, get that video course. It's going to be fucking awesome. It's going to be awesome. There will be one on dialing in test cream as well, which I'm really excited about because, there's a lot of people on cream. A lot of people on cream. And people that want to switch to cream. Switch to cream. There's gonna be one on dialing in test prop. I'm really excited about that too. So I've got to really, really take time to focus, which might take a little time away from content and stuff. But once those video products are out, they're going to be really useful for folks. Ryan Parsons says keto makes them smell like hot garbage, or could be. Everyone refused to train with the guy who was on keto. Yeah, I forget what exactly that is, but there is some mechanism by which that happens too. I forget, brother. Let me see. Mark Bell went carnivore to the sugar diet, I think, for a time. Sugar, I mean, listen, sugar has been demonized in an unfair way. Sugar's bad for you if you're a sedentary asshole, just like anything would be, you know what I mean? But glucose fills your cells more optimally than anything. Yeah. More optimally than anything, bro. Best natural supplement to increase T levels would probably be Fedosia agrestis. Jay, gosh, every time I run E2 labs, for some reason, the way it's written, E2 is run twice. Off by 10? How can labs be as this wrong? I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't. You got to run estrol sensitive. How to avoid low E symptoms on DHT. My E2 is 40. Probably more test. Double Zero Vengeance. Glad to see you again as well. Love my self-improvement videos from back in the day. Yeah, probably more of those to come. There's a whole lot of things that I have gotten out of doing that I want to get back into doing, that I'm going to make it a point to get back into doing. I've hit, I don't want to call it a rough patch, but to some extent I've hit some sort of, internal reflection, half, semi-funk in some cases lately, and there's a good set of reasons why, but what it's done is taken me away from some of the things that I really like to do, and I can't, I got to get back to some of those things. I'm a very, very happy, positive, personal development oriented person, always. It's just kind of where I am, and going to work to get back toward doing content around that. There's just not enough people, giving good personal development stuff from a practical perspective, you know what I mean, or from a more intelligible verbal fluency perspective. Like, a lot of people are just overly motivational speaker guy. Nobody likes that. If you say general words like about never give up, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Let's talk about that at the 5,000 foot level, and the psychology that you go through and the stuff you have to surmount mentally in order to make more money, or to get yourself to work out more, to, pursue your ideal living setup, your ranch in Texas with a bunch of animals, whatever it is you want specifically, and how do you make that work? How is it possible that people are out here doing big things and you can't? It's mindset, man. It's hormones for some of these people, and it's understanding the philosophy of how things get done, which is fucking endless execution, trying shit 120 times and showing up for 121 after it didn't work all those 120 times, being like, all right, let's go. This one's going to work. Do I believe Primo could be used long-term in place of a standard AI? I do think so, but the dose has to be great, Simon, how do you manage clients who struggle with higher tests and an AI? But also struggle when dosing low test enough that they don't have to use an AI, lower non-existent libido in both scenarios? You have to find the middle ground. That's how you have to find the middle ground. And the lower you go, the higher the HCG, can be and probably should be. Like, you might be fine in this case, or some of these people are fine at 85 milligrams, 90 milligrams a test a week, but 300 IU HCG a day, which is 2,100 IU HCG a week. It's a matter of dialing in the HCG usually to fill in the gaps around this sort of stuff, and then that fixes it. But at the same time, DHEA, 20 milligrams DHEA in the morning, 20 milligrams in the evening, potentially the use of a dopaminergic to kind of fuel the brain side of libido and that sort of thing. M. Jackson, to do consult with you, how's that set up? You just go to livecortex.com and you find either the consultation, which is just the one-off call regarding HRT and sexual function, or if you're in a hole and need to get out of it and might require multiple protocol changes, we've got to do at least 3 months together. The budget for that you'll need is pretty high because it's a lot of time and effort and stuff on my part, a lot of jotting and communicating with you over the months, but that's worth it if you need, major things fixed. All right, boys, I'm gonna end the stream. I've got to get my stuff together and go on a long walk with my girl, and we're kind of running out of time here. So great questions. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'll be doing more content coming soon. Look forward to the video courses, which are going to be launching the first one in the next couple weeks. That'll be Mastering Testosterone Cypionate for Teenage Libido and Stale Rod Erection. It's going to be a fucking killer video course. Every single possible variation of a protocol to dial that drug in, and I'm looking forward to bringing that to you guys in addition to some other video courses in the future. All right, rock on, kick ass. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, caffeine and the glucose, baby. I got mag carbonate in here. Pyridoxine, so some B6, B12, some calcium, little niacinamide, and some carbonated water. See you, folks.